everybody, we're at the Heartland Institute's summit here in Orlando, and we're with the one and only Dr. Willie Soon, wonderful scientist, astrophysicist. Willie, great to see you. So you talked today about temperature records, how we're being deceived on the temperature record. What have your findings and your science shown?
Okay, one very clear thing that we have done is basically to demonstrate how IPCC through NOAA and NASA and the UK Meteorological Agency has been able to somewhat hoodwink the rest of the world by convincing everybody to use a particular kind of temperature record. And you know, the technical word, we call it homogenization. It's just basically mixing up all sorts of temperature record from urban to basically rural record that contaminate everything, so it looks like when you go through this mixer that you produce something that is very flawed. So, and then the reason why we were able to do that is that we show that we can recover every single graph that IPCC produced, but only using exactly the same recipe, which means you use the rural and the urban, you mix it together. But the point is that why would you want to mix them? The urban record, as we all know, is well known. Urban city is very much very warm, but then the warm was not caused by carbon dioxide or anything. It's just urbanization. It's a local climate change issue. It has nothing to do with rising carbon dioxide. That is a well-known phenomenon. In fact, it's documented in the early 19th century, 1820, by a meteorologist named Luke Howard. So we document history like that. We explain the urban heat island effects. We also explain one particular serious problem that we call it urban blending. And these are technical work, but please, it's very simple to understand. It's just basically you mix the urban data and the rural station. Okay, you crunch through this secret recipe of NOAA, you know, National Oceanic and Administration, and then you produce a record that you actually reduce the urban warming, but people forget, you warm the rural station. So when you put them all together, they're all showing the same graph. What we did is that we demonstrate clearly, if we take out the urban data, doesn't matter what you do to it, you take the rural only, then you see a completely different history. This is no wonder why IPCC claimed that carbon dioxide has to the only factors that explain this climate change, not the sun, not anything else, not the ocean cycles and so on and so forth. We demonstrated that IPCC essentially has missed this point again, and I think this is one of the biggest issues, because when people speak of global warming, they only look at one particular kind of temperature record that IPCC basically tell you that you must only look here and nowhere else. So I think this is something very serious and something that we clearly demonstrated. Again, I hope that IPCC will listen to this message, and perhaps, by the way, all these works are also published, right? So the most important thing is that every time they say anything, I don't randomly just talk, I just produce the paper, the understandings, and then show the methods and so on and so forth. So we've been very successful in that sense. But and I urge everybody to help in some sense so that we can collect what we call the every thermometer data. Like if you have over time, like 100 years, we need to know exactly when there are changes so that we can check the IPCC algorithm.
And Willie, they can't pretend like they don't know about this. Actually, one of the key IPCC scientists repeatedly cited your work,
Correct.
your studies
Correct.
on this urban heat island effect.
Right.
Why do you think they're ignoring it? Why are they pretending that this is not out there? Why are they not factoring this into the data that they're putting out for the public?
Well, that's the reason why I speak out. It's so critical, because once you look at a temperature curve that warming and cooling, that has a lot more resemblance to what the sun's output is doing, the solar light output is doing. You basically cannot say that it's all carbon dioxide. There's absolutely no case for it. This actually, by the way, we knew this conclusion. It's just a bit harder to try to get it published in the peer-reviewed literature because there's a lot of censorship. But we managed to publish all these results. And then all we wanted to do is that public deserve to know this. Mm-hmm. And then I think that it's a bit like a lot of this dirty secret that they're trying to hide. They can no longer hide it because we have it all. We shine a lot of sunlight into it. So it's in a public record, and then we continue to speak out. And hopefully through New Americans, you all will hear about this, and people should start asking questions. By the way, I provided all my slides for today at the website called series, CERES-sign/post, POST/ICCC15. ICCC stands for International Climate Change Conference 15.
Excellent, Willie. And last question, why do you think they are doing this? What is their agenda with trying to manipulate people into believing that, that CO2 is causing a climate crisis if that's not reality?
Oh, I have to believe that if anyone hears what Mark Morano has to say, or many of the participants in this climate conference, is that it's all about control, right? It's about control, it's about, manipulating what you eat, and what sort of car you drive, and what energy source you use, and so on and so forth. It's all about that. Really, it has nothing to do with science. That's first and foremost. It's very clear by now. I think their motive, it's very clear actually. It's about control. It's about all this absolute control, and then even using COVID this day, right? It's because after COVID lockdown, it's actually climate lockdown, which is a serious problem because they see how successful they are by generating the ultimate fear, right? Scare everybody to death, and then climate change, they try, by the way, for many years, but now they just see the opportunities from this COVID situation that they're proposing now, climate lockdown. And then we know also, even if you do what they say, by the way, if you're the obedient servant of the ship, you know that it's not going to work. That's a problem with all this proposal. As a scientist, I really don't like these things, and I think that we all should start standing up instead of constantly afraid of IPCC, because IPCC is no smarter than the tiny little grain in sand to me. So we have to keep challenging IPCC. Tell especially the school kids, school-age children, to look up information from Alex Newman, from myself, and from Camp Constitution that we both go. Stuff like that. We have available a lot of information. Look it up, study it yourself, make sure you can produce the argument that clearly shows that IPCC is not only bad, in fact it's highly misleading. They have no truth, and they're not interested in the truth, obviously. So we have to stand up. IPCC's motive is really dark, so in that sense.
Well, Dr. Willie Soon, the world's greatest astrophysicist, thank you so much for all your work, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Sophia paused before the door. It read, Department of Biodigital Convergence. Just inside was a new world, a better world, the one of everlasting life, of no pain, of no loss, of no problem. She entered the chamber, and her surroundings changed. She saw around her an infinite field of waving golden grain surmounted by cloudless blue sky. The AI voice whispered gently in her mind, Welcome to the singularity. She couldn't see it and couldn't feel it, but her body had almost instantly been covered by a swarm of tiny gray multi-legged bots that melted through her clothes and into her skin. Not perceiving the nightmare, her eyes had already been consumed, and the rest of her body was dissolving as the bots digested her flesh. She felt only a warmth suffusing her being. Drowsy, she drifted to sleep, and her last thought was one of panic. Would she ever wake? Could a nightmare vision like this be an outcome of the much-hyped transhumanist technological singularity? Enter the world of the future as illuminated by the experience of the past in Endgame, the new book by Dennis Barrett, the publisher of the New American Magazine, and find out how the disastrous COVID pandemic response fits with the technocratic elite's thirst to create a transhumanist utopia. Get Endgame from shopjbs.org with free shipping with code ENDSHIP, ENDSHIP. Or get Endgame and the Great Reset Collector's issue of the New American Magazine and get free shipping plus an additional 20% off both with code N20, END20.